Welcome back, everyone, on another episode of the Unquestioned podcast with Louis Debaere and Willem Himpe. Luigi,
Party
my man,
people.
how are you guys? Tell me. Initially, I want to share with you guys a little funny story. It's this opening. My girlfriend, Louis, you don't know this yet, but she told me I talk in my sleep, and apparently while I was sleeping in the middle of the night, I was like, welcome back to the Unquestioned podcast with Louis Debaere.
I believe you.
So this podcast is causing some problems in the bedroom, but besides
podcasts on
that,
the ring. I'm sure
how are
you
you,
said a few
Luigi?
things that she didn't mention that she's keeping to herself. You naughty boy.
Okay. But tell me, I feel like we should first focus on you because maybe for the listeners that don't know, a couple episodes or a couple months ago, for you guys to know, it's like that Tesla released the full self-driving in the Netherlands, and in the meantime, they have as well released it in Belgium. And knowing you
Correct.
as a true dog feeder or eating your own dog food individual, how was it? And the question is, how long have you had it? And will you keep it? Do you love it? Is it transformational? Yes or no, Luigi?
It's transformational. First, quick pro tip for people with a Tesla. Wait for the newsletter email for your free trial, because you get a free month. We were way too eager to test the product, so we instantly started paying the membership price, which is 100 euros. It's a subscription, and it's 100 euros a month, which I said it's transformational. Yeah, for the demo of a lifetime, for something that was not possible before, which is almost no overtake, no interruption, no interaction from the driver behind the steering wheel, end-to-end driving, parking included. I mean, that's worth the fact that you can do with a normal car like a Tesla via the best software update ever is amazing. But the funny thing with technology, we get used to it so quickly. And so I've tried it. I knew what it was like already, but it was still, a wild experience to see it on the Belgian roads. We almost drove into the car drove itself into the hospital. It was following the
Really?
because we had to kind of be there, and there was a like car with sirens on, and it was just following it, just playing along. So, but yeah,
Okay.
it can
Okay.
do what any driver would do. We're almost there. We're like at 99.9%, but 100 euros is still 100 euros. It equates to about 3 euros a day. And if you, with your, large budget or limited budget, could do something else with that 3 euros, like drink another coffee or whatever it is, then you start asking yourself if it's worth your time and your attention. And I know of at least one person that has canceled their subscription already, even though this is truly like something you could only do with your Tesla. It's transformational. And now I'm wondering, Willem, are you going to keep your subscription?
Yes, my answer is I will keep it, but mainly as well because I can keep it as an expense of my company. So, but the funny thing is, what you just said is as well as I'm using it and I like it in certain cases, but in a way, I don't have to drive, but I still have to sit there. I still have to look at the road. Plus, as well, the FSD is 99% better than a human, or is just 99.9 safe, but it feels like a granny is driving and you feel like you're losing sometimes a bit time while it's doing it. And sad to say, if I would be paying it myself, I would as well maybe question of continuing it, because the problem is I've been using it a lot, but it's very strict in checking you if you're looking at the road, if you are touching the wheel. So it becomes, to be fully honest, sometimes a feeling that I'm a bit like a slave to my car. And that I'm a bit training their models by sometimes, if I have to interact, which often I don't have to do, majority of the time, but still it feels a little bit like I'm the bitch to my car. And that is not such a nice feeling. And one thing to add, because you still have to sit there. If I wouldn't need to sit there, or I could just sit in the passenger seat, or with one click let my car go out and be a taxi for other people, then that €100 means nothing.
Yeah, but
Then
then is it
it's
gonna
a joke.
still
So
be
I think as
€100
well
is
it
the
will be
question. Yeah.
correct. Then it will be for sure another tier, because any logical thinking Elon Musk or individual will say like, okay, we're leaving money here on the table. But that's a topic we'll see in the future. But currently I'm keeping it, but now I'm on my third band, so I can only have it back in a week. So yeah. But besides that, or continuing that topic of AI, we would love to discuss on this episode the topic of the AI endgame, the massive adoption, the massive usage, the incredible impact that large language models, specifically ChatGPT or Claude, for example, and these are the names with the companies OpenAI and Anthropic behind it, are exceeding expectations, getting almost over $1 trillion. Some people say multiple $1 trillion valuation, and as well making the steps in the future to go public. And the question is, where is this leading to? Or in the past, where software was eating the world, is now intelligence eating the world and everything that is connected to it. So, Louis, maybe would love to hear from you. What is your initial statement on the AI endgame, and what you're thinking that these companies have as an advantage or disadvantage?
Yeah. If we think about where AI has had the most impact and where it's like making money, making people more productive, it's enterprise. Because ChatGPT started as a consumer product, and if you want, you can pay €20 for it, but people are already, wasting a lot of time watching TikTok reels, and so usually they don't have the. If they pay something for the AI, it's gonna be €20 and not more. So it really is in the workplace that we're looking, and the biggest most meaningful dent change that it makes in the workplace for now is in coding and programming. So that's where I would like to focus. And I'm wondering if, with all the open source models that are available, if OpenAI and Anthropic even have a like defensible moat, if their business is really that valuable, because what they're doing is serving models, and maybe that's a popular thing to do today and pay for, but it is true that you can get a model that's almost as powerful, or that's as powerful as a cutting edge, as the newest model from these cloud providers from 6 months ago. So yeah, I really, by the end game, I mean, maybe today people are comfortable spending, but if there's a way to cut that spend and still get the smartness, the AI, the coding help, will people all start moving over to hosting, running their own little server with their own model, instead of using paying a lot for OpenAI and Anthropic?
Okay. Well, to add to that is, I think the big delta is, will the Anthropics and OpenAIs and the model creators still have a massive, their premium model that is not open source and that you can only get via the API or inside of their software products or their applications? Well, is this still going to be the delta, the model outperforming the open source models? Just like you said, there's only a 6 month to small year gap. So the closer that gap gets, the more I think, and I see as well, enterprises will think, let's do it on-prem, because then the cost that or the premium that we're paying for intelligence to these big model companies, we will just need to actually only spend on electricity and keeping up the infrastructure, and as well a person that knows how to deploy it. And from my personal experience in the software world, I as well see is that companies, if they have a very strong IT team and knows how to run things on-prem and so on for applications, for other software and so on, then they will often do that because it's, of course, a lot cheaper to have someone internally setting up everything on-prem than relying on the cloud and on having everything run with other companies. And it's only for companies that have less infrastructure teams and IT teams that just say like, yeah, we don't have the people, we need to be running this thing, and we're glad to pay that premium where the hyperscalers offer this service from beginning till end that we can easily scale and so on. So the
I'm going to take the
conclusion
other
that I
side.
wanted,
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks for laying out what is, I think, the smart take. Like, obviously, I mean, truly an educated take, which is economically, if this feature, whatever you want to call it, if this service can exist more cheaply, there's no good reason for anyone to be paying OpenAI and Anthropic, especially if the gap between the models becomes smaller. But I would argue, seeing what I'm seeing in the industry and just by what we know about product development, that even if OpenAI's model and Anthropic's model was not smarter than what you could run in your living room or with like a little bit of a upfront spend at your company and run yourself, even then, I think they have a future and a bright future because of the integration. There is so
Mm-hmm.
much. We talked about packaging on a previous episode, and they're gonna build everything around the model. Like, forget Slack; they're just gonna build Slack or Microsoft Teams into the product. And I'm gonna ask you with your startup as well. Like, wasn't it convenient to just fire up Codex or Claude and hand it your existing code, your repository, and have all the tools right there? Like, isn't it enough of a threshold and a hurdle
Remote.
to start? Yeah, for and this is a small company, but even medium size, I think most companies just cannot afford to. It's like would be like assembling your own MacBook. Like, you could buy the battery separately and all the ports, but Apple packages that stuff up for you, and you can get started, and it's familiar too.
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of comes down to the total cost of ownership because if the total cost of ownership is cheaper and all the hassles of the integrations of the whole everything around it, then very quickly, because a product of Claude with Claude Cowork, Claude Design, all of this, everything around it becomes so much more valuable. Then, yeah, the total cost of ownership is way cheaper than just hosting, let's say, just a model that is intelligent into your own environment. And that's, I think, I don't know, I cannot go in the heads of Sam Altman and the CEO of Anthropic, but basically they are, you see it building more and more around their model just so that they have a bigger moat and that their products become stickier. Just a beautiful example. Maybe I'm switching here to the example you just gave, Apple. The reason was in the past, it was just not AirPods, but with a cable and an aux. And they said as well, let's get rid of the aux cable and release AirPods, because just the connection, this is another product that is really handy, that is can only work with your iPhone, that kind of pushes you more and sticks you into their ecosystem. And I think it might be the same if one designer is within Claude Design, for example, and really has a lot of their environments in there, it makes it again stickier. So yeah,
Yeah,
you are right with that. I think the total cost of ownership, and it will only be, they will have the
industry
option.
standards like Microsoft Word, even though uh, I mean, theoretically you can already open your Word file in any like in a different app than the official Microsoft Word app. When you a new hire from school, and in school, what tools do you want to teach, right?
Hmm.
You have a company. Your question is going to be, how is this shop running on Claude, or are you using Codex here? And then it's going to be the whole familiar package that everybody's used to. And I'm not saying it's impossible to just have a custom setup, but then you're kind of, especially in a competitive environment, you're kind of doing two things at once, and you're not focusing. And the gap between the models also has to be very small, because if you want to try a new experiment, why wouldn't you use the smartest model? So for trying something new, if you don't have the setup already, it's just too easy to just take whatever is the best of the best, get the Photoshop license, start working, and then when you've built something, yeah, you kind of want to continue, and you don't want to spend your precious, scarce time trying to recreate these tools that you're used to. So it makes sense to me.
And yeah, and one more thing I wanted to add is like I've been now in the startup world and in the enterprise world. In the enterprise world, trust and reliability is really important. And it's sometimes this might be conflicting, but it's for them it's maybe more interesting to have then their systems and important stuff within the cloud product or the cloud family, because that's a reliable party and they know each year they will have a bigger, stronger model and improve. And it's less reliable if you rely purely on the open source, because so then you have to rely that regardless which community or Chinese or American group will release a new open source model that gets again closer to the strongest models of the big OpenAI and Anthropic players. So that's as well, I think, as it's more reliable for them to go within or put stuff from their own company in the infrastructure of Anthropic or OpenAI.
Yeah, and the privacy and trust angle is super nuanced. Obviously, if it's about the army and the state secrets, it's different. But you would think that it would make more sense for you to self-host and be fully in control, have like an air gap, your own server, nobody can get access to in your country. But and you would say that's an argument against the big cloud providers like OpenAI and Anthropic. But let's play it out. What if we wanted to start a new business and we would provide open source models that we would serve and try to outprice and undercut OpenAI? Then all of a sudden, again, people have to trust us. So if I have to trust someone anyway, if I don't want to do it myself and like pay 12,000 euros upfront for a computer just to try something, I might as well go with the Salesforce like big player that's going to be GDPR compliant, have like 24/7 support, and whose job it is to keep data safe. And obviously, new players are welcome. It may not. Another party could be added to this if they really want to.
And from their point of view, it's also what I've seen. It's funny. I always feel now older and older because I see a little bit more how the software world and companies is or operate. It's risk mitigation. It's like a CEO, a CIO. They say like, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't go with the open source model of China or try something new. I just did what everyone else is doing, went with OpenAI or Anthropic. So it's not my fault that suddenly all our data is in the models. It's all the other companies were as well relying on them. And on that topic of risk mitigation and putting a lot of trust into these, I will call it intelligence companies, is they get pushback, I feel like, and I would love to hear your point of view of that, of the token usage versus business value. It's constantly, we hear more and more stories of this intern spent 80,000 or 1 million in euros worth of tokens just because he was making a fun dating app within the office. Oh, I don't know what is going on. But what is your point of view versus the token usage and business value, plus as well tokens that are now still a little bit being subsidized because Anthropic and OpenAI, they want to get as much market share. So they have massive funding rounds, so they can subsidize the tokens and intelligence to these companies. Will this token use versus business value be infected when they will increase their prices, or do you think it will never increase their prices? So
yeah, and their
what is your
prices
point
are
of view
actually
here?
increasing because the better models are more expensive. Every time a new one comes out, it's twice as expensive. We are still figuring things out. The revenue is real. So anytime like a large or mid-sized company, uses tokens, it's real cash flow for the AI companies, but it's not sustainable, or at least the growth is not sustainable, because like we are approaching $1,000 AI spend per engineer, and maybe that's the
At
ceiling. I don't
Spotify.
know. Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
Tesla. There's a rumor that Tesla recently capped the budget per engineer to $200 a week. And yeah, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
use these coding models, this may not mean much to you. Now, this is spend that used to not be there at all. This is new. Like this is on
Mm-hmm.
top of people's salary and on top of all the other things that are required. And it leads to more code. So there's a little bit of an extra spend there because the agents are, firing up the testing services and the computers. And I think that's plenty, actually. $200 a week. It makes you as an engineer think, what kind of work is this? Is this, low hanging fruit, easy, simple, menial stuff that I can use cheap and fast a model for? Or is this a tricky thing that we have to get right, or is going to cost more later, cost more time, it can introduce bugs? Is this critical? Is this a new architecture? Is this a hard problem to solve, something new? Maybe I use my budget for the week to ask this to the smarter model, and my spend is gonna go down on that. So it is literally the job of the engineer to make trade-offs, and this is one of those trade-offs. So I think working with the AI is not only figuring out the new workflows, but also figuring out where it makes sense, because you can spend, you can never stop. You never have to stop spending, and the AI companies will never tell you to stop spending. But at a certain point, it makes sense to say, okay, how much do I value the token input, the time, and the output? Is it actually worth it? And how many experiments do we want to do? So I think that $200 a week precedent is a good idea, and I think other companies will follow. And it's still, I mean, greatly improves the lives of the engineers, and makes them work better.
Mm-hmm. To to add to that is, or a nice analogy is, often when you do a hackathon with your team, you often give a challenge, but as well with a constraint. And here you give the engineers as well a little bit of a constraint of intelligence, and due to you have that constraint, they will be as well create better outcomes from it.
Mm.
And another thing I wanted to add is like this token usage versus business value. This will eliminate, let's say, the people that are spending a lot on tokens but not having a lot of business impact. So it's still a monkey with a tool, or a fool with a tool is still a fool with a tool. And so companies will be incentivized to give the people who are working on the right problems that have the biggest impact, the right resource and the tokens. And the people that are spending a lot of tokens but are not, based on what they are working on, giving a lot of business impact, they will need to
Well,
be
yeah, I have
checked into
to.
account. Or
Yeah, I have to kind of. th- It makes
it's
sense
a
to
gray
say,
zone. I will add to
eh,
you as well as like,
yeah,
it's not everything it will have immediate business impact. I
yeah,
agree. And I
no, and
think you as an engineer
also,
will.
I think it's very hard because we are still figuring it out. I think it's good to have an abundance mindset and be like, you know what, use it for whatever you want. Try stupid things, even try toy examples, because that's how we learn what things are a good idea, what things are effective. Because AI is supposed to make us think less, and do twice as much. So why not ask it to do as much as possible? So this is exactly actually why it actually helps make the point about the limit and the budget, because then you become responsible, and you can still decide if you as an engineer have a hard time doing, for example, user interface, but you don't mind doing other stuff by hand, then you can make that choice. So it adds to the freedom and flexibility. I think it's it's a dream, too much of a fantasy dream to say like, okay, this project is worth it, this one isn't. Obviously, you shouldn't be using the smartest model to type up an email to your colleague, stuff like that. But it's very hard to say, okay, this is worth it, this isn't. So that I just wanted to say that as a happy user, as a free user.
Okay, yeah, I understand. But for companies, they want to have as well a bit of predictability. But the problem is then sometimes when you would have to have predictability and maybe give resources to too much resource to the limited few, then you reduce the serendipity, reduce the new ideas, the new stuff that can come from that, and that could be then a limiting factor as well. Okay, well, and we'll see as well in the future. I think based of these models getting more and more expensive, I don't think it will be like anything like in one shot this day all the models are times 6 times 10. It will be gradual, and the companies will like you said, now gradually as well put more constraints in their teams to make sure that their employees are using these powerful tools responsible and not to have fun with it and not have to do all their personal projects with the resources of the company, which very likely is
No,
happening at this
that's a whole
moment.
different thing. Yeah. That's like using the company computer for hosting your family photos or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Okay, but it still happens. But that's a topic for another episode. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode where we talked a little bit more about the AI endgame, or how these models of OpenAI and Anthropic are revolutionizing, but also causing a lot of, let's say, changes into the workforce, and as well positive and sometimes negative impact. And whatever happens in the future, we'll see. But hopefully you have now a better view on what's happening. And we'd love to see you back on another episode of the End Question podcast. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.